Hey, what's up? So I saw this video yesterday and it was titled Why Everyone Hates Asian Men. And I was like, huh, I'm Asian and I'm a man. Let me watch this video. And I thought it was actually really well made. It's made by this guy called Hans Y. And I've actually never seen any of his stuff before, but I thought it was pretty well made. And I kind of feel like I used to care about this stuff a lot more when I was like, let's say 25, and I'm like 36 now. So I kind of just, I don't want to say I don't care anymore, but I just kind of care less because it just doesn't really apply to me anymore. And I don't know if that's right. So I saw this video. I thought it was really good, and I was like, oh, let me share. Let me spread the word. So here I'm gonna just play this video, and we can react to it. I'm also gonna share the link to this video down below as well. But yeah, let's get started.
You see this picture. Is it what I love the couple, or they look happy together, or is it this, or this?
Asian. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm watching this on 1.5x speed just because you know, I watch things on 2x speed usually, and then fuck it, I'll just watch it on 1x speed for you guys. All right.
Dudes just suck.
Asian men are generally perceived as unattractive.
What's wrong with being an Asian guy?
Sometimes, I'm blown away by the amount of racism.
Why do Asian men get so much hate? How come no one cares? And what can Asian men do about it? These are the questions we'll be answering today, and it's actually an interesting topic because it's not as simple as racism or jealous incels. There are several unique factors that work together to enable and normalize hate against Asian men. And one of those factors is actually hate from Asian women.
I don't mean to be racist against my
Yeah, I recognize this lady. This lady is called Esther Koo.
own race, but
Asian men are generally perceived as unattractive.
Everybody but Asian guys.
Yeah,
If you are not Asian, you might not be aware there is a special military operation going on between some Asian women and all Asian men. This operation was launched by a special type of Asian women called anti-loos. Anti-loos are Asian women who love to hate on Asian men for no reason. They proactively make fun of Asian men any opportunity they get.
And people are always like, you don't like Asian guys? I'm like, no, I like regular people.
They spread the
Yeah, like her in particular, I've seen her stand up before, and and I'm not saying it's bad because I'm an Asian dude. I'm just saying it's bad because it's not funny, because it's really lowbrow. There's only like a rotation of like 8 jokes, and it's not really creative. And it's also like, dude, what, like, yeah, it's also kind of fucked up.
generalizations about all Asian men.
They're slobs, they just watch anime all day, play video
Yo, why the hell? What's up with this guy? This guy looks fine. Why are they? What is this picture for?
They perpetuate negative racial stereotypes about Asian men.
Hold up. There's this table of erect length. So this is penis size. Japan and America are 0.2 centimeters apart. All right, good to know. Damn, Japan's beating a lot of countries. I wonder how accurate that stuff is.
When one Asian man does something wrong.
I was raised with an older brother, and so I am very, very cognizant of the fact that I was raised differently than he was.
They will always mention they don't date Asian men.
I'm not into Asian guys.
Even if no one asks. And when people do ask, look how proud they are saying they don't date Asian men.
Kind of have a no dating Asian sort of policy. You kind of look a bit like my brother.
Yo, I've seen this clip before as well. It's like a dating show. The dude's Asian, and then like she gets rejected by like, I think it was like 2 out of 2 Asian chicks. I think what's happening here though is like when people say that, when girls say that. First of all, I don't think a lot of Asian girls say that. And just for the context, I actually grew up in New Hampshire, which is like all white people. But I moved over to California when I was like in 5th grade. So I basically grew up in California, which is like a bunch of Asian people. And I've like never met, or maybe like met very few Asian girls that are like, oh, I don't date Asian dudes. And I think what happens when girls say that is they basically grow up around all white people, and they stand out, right? So they don't want to be seen as Asian, so they kind of like hate themselves a little bit. So they try to do something where they're like trying to stay away from Asian people, right? And it's kind of a weird thing to say. I think she says, "Oh, Asian guys look like my brother" or whatever, if I remember correctly. Maybe they have it, but it's like, bro, like there's like 3 billion Asian people in the world. Like everyone looks different. Like there's a pretty poor reason. And I think what happens is like basically they only know a few Asian people, which is why they say that. So,
which is hilarious because they also get mad at non-Asian women who like Asian guys.
Is there any celebrity that you like?
There is some Korean.
Korean again? I don't know why it's so weird. Just I'm just like,
There are even YouTube channels which have collected hours of footage showing Asian women talking trash about Asian men. Usually when Asian guys bring up this issue, people will gaslight us by saying, "You're overreacting, stop being jealous, who cares who Asian women want to date?" The answer is no one cares.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. It's like you don't really care, but it's like, why are you just casually talking all this shit about Asian people, right?
The
It's like-
issue is not about dating preferences. There is a massive difference between saying I prefer to
Alright, I'm
date
sorry, I'm
black
gonna-
or
I'm gonna
white
speed
guys
this up,
versus
just-
saying I
just
don't
like to watch
date
things faster.
Asian men because they
Alright, I'll
are
do
too
1.25.
effeminate, too traditional, or whichever
Close.
negative stereotype they want to perpetuate. It's like me saying I usually find white or black or whatever women more attractive versus I don't date Asian women because they are too reserved or submissive. In fact, if I did say that, people would call me a racist and misogynist. But because of society's double standards, Auntie Luz can say whatever they like about Asian men, largely without consequences. It's actually so socially accepted, they are screaming about it on national television.
I have a no dating Asian policy as well.
It's bizarre. I mean,
Damn.
imagine if a black woman went
Alright,
on
hold up. Look at this girl. Look at this girl. And that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's bizarre. I mean, imagine if a black woman went on national television and said she had a no dating black guys policy. Everyone would be outraged. So why do Auntie Luz hate Asian men so much? You may have noticed most Auntie Luz are westernized Asian women. And one reason why they talk down Asian men is because they think it improves their chances of dating white men. Most Auntie Luz also suffer from internalized racism.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Inferiority complex where you put white people on a pedestal. You refuse to engage with the culture and you thought Asian men were gross.
But instead of working on overcoming their own negative beliefs about Asians, they decided to take their anger out on Asian men instead. Figuring out why they hate on Asian men is not nearly as important as being aware they are doing it and acknowledging they are getting away with it. This is harmful because behavior that is unchallenged becomes normalized. And unfortunately, all the negative narratives about Asian men being spread by Asian women will be assumed to be true by the majority of non-Asian.
Yeah, I mean, it's super chill if you like, hey, I don't like to date Asian guys, but like, why are you going on the internet or on TV and just like broadcasting it? Like, a lot of times is unprompted as well. So it's just kind of weird, right? Because you're basically trying to make up for something. You're trying to put yourself in a position where you seem a certain way. So I think it's just a lot of self-hate. But the good news is I really don't think there's that many girls that are like that. It's just like, for some reason, they're super loud. It kind of reminds me, I was actually in Vegas like two months ago, and this is gonna be a really random story, but basically I have my hotel key card like on my phone, and then like the UI is like kind of shitty. So you have to wait like a second, you gotta scan it, and then a certain time you have to like press the hotel button. And then basically like there's like 6 or 7 people in this hotel room in this elevator, and like I'm trying to scan it and it's not working. And then I do like 3 times, and then I just hear some lady yell like, "It's broken!" Like, I thought you're supposed to be smart, aren't you Asian? And then I was kind of going through like a phase of like, I was kind of going through that, hey, nothing can bother you phase. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to respond to this. So then I just don't say anything. And I look up and there's like this Asian girl that like said it to me. So I just ignore her. And then she starts talking to me and she goes, oh, hey, like, she goes, oh, are you Chinese? I go, yeah, I'm Chinese. And she's like, 你会说中文? No, then she goes like, oh, 你会说中, she goes like, 你会说中文吗? I'm like, yeah, which means like, can you speak Chinese? And then she starts like asking me about like my background and shit. I'm just like, yo, what the fuck? And then she's with like all these white people. And then like she's like talking to me, and I get the feeling like she's never met an Asian person before, because she's like telling me all this shit about being Chinese or whatever, and I'm just like, yo, like, and then my mind, I'm just like, dude, have you never met an Asian person before? And then even her friend was like, yo, was that kind of aggressive? And I was like, what? Like what she said to me? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, it was kind of aggressive. And then they were like, I think they felt like kind of embarrassed of her. And then in my mind, I was like, bro, like you're acting like a certain way to show a certain thing. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. And I just felt like she didn't really know how to interact with Asian people, because she was like treating me like being Asian was like a big deal, but like literally everyone's Asian. So yeah. I don't know if that has anything to do with this, but it just kind of gave me a feel where like, because you don't interact with a lot of Asian people, you're acting a certain way about Asian people. Hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Asians simply because an Asian person is saying it. Let's discuss how we can empower ourselves later, because right now we must talk about boba liberals. Boba liberals are basically Asians who really want to be white, and they are so desperate for white validation they take on the ideologies of white liberals while also actively downplaying real issues faced by Asians. For example, boba liberals will support, even champion movements like Black Lives Matter and anti-war protests, but they will never speak up about anti-Asian hate crimes. They will make videos and write articles about anti-blackness in the Asian community while ignoring the high rates of black.
Hold up, let's watch this. Okay, so this is crimes by percentile. This is the victim, and this is the offender. This is highlighted. So that means that out of Asian people, 27.5% of the offender is black, 24% is Asian. So I would assume that typically with the most crimes that happen are race on race, your own race, because you just deal with them more often. You're always with, Asian people, or you're always with black people, you're always with white people. So yeah, 24% Asian, like 45 Hispanic on Hispanic, 70% black on black, 62. Yeah, so the higher, that's true, right? So essentially, there's more attacks on Asian people by black people than Asian people themselves, and even white people. And keep in mind, white people are highly populated. I think blacks make up like 13% of the population. Okay, so actually, right. Okay, I could have just read this. I guess 27.5% of violent crimes committed by Asian people are against black. 0.1% are committed by Asian. So there's obviously a big discrepancy on black and Asian crime. Yeah, that actually hella bothered me. Like during COVID, you just see all these random videos of like some lady walking down the street and some like black dude just like punches her in the face. Right? It's like always like old lady, and like that shit's super fucked up. But like no one, like nothing ever happened. Even if it happened right now, I saw an article not that long ago about like this like elderly like nursing home in Oakland where they're getting attacked like every hour. So yeah, this is super fucked up, and it needs to be addressed. But then like if you address that, hey, black people are doing it, all of a sudden you're racist. So I can totally see what he's saying.
On Asian crime. In fact, if you even dare mention the numbers, then you are a racist.
Oh yeah, he just said it. Yeah.
What are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
Boba liberals will claim Asians are white adjacent while ignoring data showing societal discrimination against Asians for being Asian. And when
yeah, also I've actually come full circle on affirmative action. Like I used to be for it when I was growing up, and I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense. But then now that I'm older, I think affirmative action solves nothing, because you're basically lowering standards for black people and I guess Mexican people to get into college. But like you shouldn't be lowering the bar so that they can get in, right? You should be raising them up, like helping them perform better. The bar should be the same. And it's literally racist, right? And it's super fucked up when like all these kids study and like do well like they do super well in school, and they like work hella hard for all these years, and they just like don't get into college, right? And just because they're Asian. And it's like, dude, Asians have a pretty wide range, right? So like let's say if you went to my high school, you're probably like a well-off, a more well-off Asian kid, right? You probably had support. Your parents probably got you SAT classes, but there's a lot of Asian kids that didn't get that support, right? And they're actually like not well off, and they study really hard. They were able to figure it out and do it on their own. Like, why are they dinged because they're Asian, right? And what if you're like a rich black person? Like you have all the step up. So it's not fair to do by race. Maybe you do by income, but it's super unfair to do by race, yeah.
people are racist towards Asians, they won't stand up for Asians. Instead, they'll say, actually, Asians are the most racist people on the planet. And what's really funny is, now we have the growing feminism and anti-patriarchy movements. Society has been going after privileged men in positions of power, which in many cases is justified. However, boba liberals have managed to drag Asian men into that group as well. What privileges are we talking about? All these combine to create the narrative that all the hate Asian men receive is deserved. That's why whenever we bring up the challenges we face, we are always dismissed. When we voice our concerns about hate crimes, we are told to stop being victims.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah.
When we point out the lack of positive Asian male representation in Western media, we get told we are insecure. When we call out blatant racism against Asians,
like what would you do if someone did this to you? I don't know. It's yeah.
we get called snowflakes. When we highlight double standards in society, somehow we are told we are the ones who are racist. And when we physically defend ourselves against violence, somehow we are...
So hold on. Before I talk about this, I'm gonna go back to the affirmative action thing. I think it's bad for affirmative action as well, because like when you see a black person go to Harvard or whatever, don't you just assume that they got in because of affirmative action, right? Because it exists, right? You're just assuming that they got in because of affirmative action, because that's the reason that reason they're getting in. But if you just had the bar set where everyone objectively has to be a certain way in order to get in, then every black person at Harvard would have gotten on their own merit, and you would know, right? So imagine you've gotten on your own merit, and then now people think of you a certain way because they think you didn't, even though you did, right? And that also has to do with like diversity hires and stuff like that. So I don't think we should be lowering the bar. Like they're lowering the bar for like medical school and like being a doctor. Like that doesn't actually make sense. It kind of hurts society if you do that. So yeah, you have to basically raise the bar. Like I don't know, provide more resources for them to, for low income kids to do better versus just arbitrarily set a race and like. Yeah, and then like lower the bar for to get an outcome that you want to get. Also, back on the whole like similar to white people thing is like my friends that work in finance, like they've told me like basically Asian guys get calculated as the majority, right? They get calculated as white people. So basically you're a minority, you get these like people are like racist against you or whatever, but you don't get any of the benefits of being a minority. So it's like you lose on both ends. Whereas Asian girls still get like female in tech or whatever. All right, but this. I looked this up after I watched this clip, and this is super fucked up. Basically, these two guys, this brother at their house, like one of the brothers like manages the building. Some kids were like peeing on the building or whatever, and then he told them to stop, and then they end up jumping the guy and his brother. They threaten him with a knife, and then the brother comes out and takes a katana and like slashes one of them, and then they get charged with like attempted murder. And then the 5 guys that beat him up and peed on him and did all this stuff like basically got off. It's pretty crazy. You should look it up. Yeah.
That's why boba liberals can often be more harmful than
so
blatant racists. So don't let them get away with it. Now it's
this is irrelevant, but like basically another reason you need to stack money is because you just need to. Money honestly talks. So like if you have more money, then you could probably hire a lawyer and whatever. But I think those kids were rich. But yeah,
to remember Asian
that's just the way the world works. It's not going to change.
And didn't become everyone's punching bags overnight. Mainstream Western media has been demonizing Asian men since the early 1900s. We have always been labeled a threat to white jobs, white women, the white way of life, the enemy, foreign invaders. It doesn't matter which Asian country you are from.
Ever been associated or affiliated?
Oh yeah, I saw this. This is kind of hilarious.
Chinese Communist Party? No, Senator. Again, I'm Singapore.
Or if you are a third-generation Asian American.
Yo, this Chinese like trying to gain up on me or something.
All Asians in the West suffered when Japan was the enemy. Just like all Asians were punished because a virus originated in China. Just like all Asians will be considered the CCP if conflict between China and America escalates. Asian men don't have the luxury of being treated like individuals. In early Hollywood, we were villains. From the 60s onwards, we became laughingstocks, emasculated clowns, incompetent fools, and exaggerated stereotypes, or just flat out erased altogether. Here are just some quick examples. In 21, a movie based on a true story, the real-life Asian main character was replaced by a white actor. In The Last Airbender.
Yo, so I actually literally remember this. I was actually hella mad when they came out with this movie, and I found out that it was actually based on an Asian guy, and they replaced it with a white person. But then it's like, yo, if you're gonna make a blockbuster movie, and let's imagine you are like funding this movie, right? Like you're putting $1 million into this movie, and it's a blockbuster movie, and you're gonna shoot it. And the point of this movie is to make money, right? And you're selling it to an American audience. Like, wouldn't you put a white person as the star if you're trying to get return on your money when like an Asian actor wasn't tested yet? So that's the only thing about it. So I was really mad about this, but I can see why they did it.
Movie based on a true story. The real life Asian main character was replaced by a white actor in The Last Airbender. Oh no!
Like okay, like this, I don't see why. Like it's like this is fucking like an Asian kid, like, and like it's tested, right? Because it's a cartoon. So
white heroes were replaced with white people, while non-white villains.
Also, I feel like they've remade it recently, and it was like a half white, half something else kid. It's like, dude, why can't they just get a full Asian kid? I don't understand. Yeah, but this is like a full white kid. So
remained unchanged. The Last Samurai. A white guy goes to Japan, trains for a few weeks, and pretty much saves Japan. The Forbidden Kingdom.
Yeah.
White guy saves China from evil.
Yeah.
Romeo must die. Ending showing Jet Li and the lady.
Yeah. Those other 2 movies were bad, so I guess I don't really care. But like this movie, I thought it was bullshit that he didn't kiss the girl at the end. It's like it's like, dude, yeah.
Kissing changed to hugging because Western directed.
Same with Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan had a movie with like Jennifer Love Hewitt or something, and then they just never kiss, which is, it's like, dude, man, like, what's the like? Just fucking kiss her.
Didn't want to offend Western audiences. 47 Ronin.
Like, how would that
guy
offend
saves the
Western,
princess.
yeah.
Dragon Ball Evolution. Goku played by a school.
Yeah, this movie tanked. Yeah.
New white guy. 16 Candles featured the Long Duck Dawn, the personification of the emasculated Asian stereotype. Breakfast at Tiffany's, one of the most celebrated
To be fair,
movies in
these
American
movies are
history.
super old.
Featured a racist
I mean, this
Asian
is really
caricature
bad,
played by
but
a white actor in
it is a
Yellowface.
different time.
Two
We
Broke
can't.
Girls, a show that featured a joke.
Oh yeah, fuck this guy. I hate this guy. This guy makes Asian people look hella bad, and his character is just full of like, yeah, I don't know. This is like really bad. He's basically like a clown caricature of an Asian person.
Character where the joke is literally.
But the question is like, yo, if you could become a millionaire by being this guy, would you do it? I wouldn't. But imagine you're like an actor and you're like, this is the only way you can get on TV. Like, would you do it? So is it really his fault, or is it society's fault. I don't know.
that he's an emasculated Asian guy. They interview white guys go to poor Asian countries to make fun of Asian men and have intercourse with Asian.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, there's all these movies. I remember in particular, there's this ping pong movie. I forgot what it's called. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's always like these nasty ass fat, hairy dudes that like bang like hot Asian girls, which I don't think happens in real life. Like this is like
Tokyo Drift, Hollywood exists.
like they can't like you can imagine like this fat white dude would bang this hot Asian girl, but you can't imagine like Jet Li could kiss, Aaliyah or whatever. It's pretty dumb.
How to change the only positive Asian male character to a black guy, which director Justin Lin fought against. And of course, every single movie or television show with Ken Jeong.
Yeah, Ken Jeong, man. Like, what is this? What's going on here? What is going on here? They're making dick jokes. I mean, like, why did he go naked? First of all, Ken Jeong. I feel like Ken Jeong is like really bad for Asian dudes. Like, he's not funny, and I don't know why he's on TV. Yeah.
Or Bobby Lee in them. Quite literally,
Bobby Lee is also very
in Western
bad.
media are jokes for people to laugh at. All these negative stereotypes result in very real challenges Asian men must overcome simply for committing the crime of being an Asian man. But that's not all. We all know in Western society there are double standards in terms of who you can be racist to. This is socially acceptable.
Yeah, like what the fuck is this? This is Bobby Lee's I forgot his name, Andrew something. I've seen his stand up on Netflix, and this is prior to me seeing him do this, but his stand up is really bad, so I don't really respect him as a comedian. After that, I have seen a couple of clips of him and Bobby, and the way that Bobby lets people treat him like annoys me. It's like, and then he lets people walk all over him and let's make all these Asian jokes, and he has a platform, so people think it's okay to say these things. Yeah.
This is also fine.
Mr. Sam, sorry for your loss. What's your lip? I take care of all the fighters as well as employees.
So is this.
The thing about this stuff is like this has been happening for like 15, 20 plus years. It's like maybe it was funny like 20 years ago, but then it's not that funny now. And it's like, what do you do when someone does that to you, right? What do you do when someone does the same eyes to you? It's like, I mean, younger me would like immediately throw hands, but then it's like, yo, is it even worth getting mad about? And like you don't want to let outside forces affect your inside emotions as well. So it's like kind of a balancing act where you have to do something about it, but you can't overreact, and you also can't get mad, right? So yeah.
And this. And this. And just imagine a similar headline about a non-Asian athlete.
Yeah, I remember this. I actually do feel like Jeremy Lin got fucked by the NBA just because he was Asian. Like they didn't give him any chances.
Approved.
He also got injured, but yeah.
Happen, they would be fired right away. I mean, let's be real here.
Like wow, like they should have drafted him. Like why did he go play? He had to go play in China and then Taiwan. It's like they could give him a chance.
Do you think people would be able to get away with mocking a more protected minority group the same way they mock Asian men? Western society has been conditioned to treat Asian men as inferior punching bags.
Yeah, it's like everything, like anything against a black person is racist. Like anything super minor, like even if you say you people is like racist, right? But like you can say where the fuck you want to Asian dudes, and it's totally fine.
For over 100 years, so it's no surprise we still see this kind of response to popular franchises casting Asian male lead characters, even in 2024. And what's even less surprising is hate against Asian men is also rampant on social media. Every time you see content of Asian men doing well in life, the comments are always full of racist attacks. And if you see content of Asian boys playing sports, it's CCP propaganda, of course. Asian men dating non-Asian women, that's right, rage and racism. Asian athletes following their dreams, racist jokes and stereotypes. And of course, who could forget the viral video formula of Asian OnlyFans girls talking about Asian men?
What's one race you laddies wouldn't date?
Asian. Not to mention all the videos of these.
Yeah, once again, I don't think I honestly don't think, I've literally personally never met, or maybe can think of like one person from my high school that's like that. And like, honestly, like, if I'm like completely honest, like typically the girls are like that are like not that great looking. And there's something so I'm not super worried about it. It's just that if they're on TV, people don't know that. Asian people know that, white people don't know that. But then you're on TV and you're like talking all this shit about Asian dudes. You're like, it's fine. Like people are thinking it's fine for you to say shit like that. That's where I'm like, yo, like, why are you acting like that? Obviously, there's something wrong with them.
To a non-Asian man trying to make Asian men look bad for clout, I guess. And if any Asian man dares to speak up, they will face dismissive whataboutisms like, actually, Asians are the most racist. Oh, it's just a joke. Don't be so sensitive. Or, oh, you're just a snowflake. Or, so what? People are racist against Mexicans and black people too. Can we just talk about that for a second? How bizarre is it that people justify racism against Asians because they are also racist towards other minorities? Hey, moron, why don't you just stop being racist towards everyone? What's worse is there will always be a few self-hating Asians who defend this type of...
Yeah, like, as a Chinese, this was funny. thing is, I don't get it. It's not that funny. Like it's really not that funny. It's really basic.
Behavior on social media. Their comments will always be weaponized against anyone who tries to challenge hate because, see, that person is Asian and they don't mind. Clearly, it's not a big deal. Chill out. Which is like saying there is no racism against black people because Candace Owens said so, which is nonsensical. But unfortunately, this form of gaslighting works on most people. Now, yes, a lot of hate against Asian men on social media is from racist incels. And I know it can be very easy to dismiss all the hate on social media and say, well, what do you expect? It's social media. But social media is a reflection of societal norms, and we should be asking why hate.
Yeah, what would you do? I guess, what would you do if someone did that to you? This is kind of a thing I get. I actually kind of get in an argument with my wife about this all the time. Because, like, I feel like a problem with society is people don't get checked a lot. Everyone's like, oh, I'm free to do this, free to do that. But, like, no one ever gets checked anymore. And people are like, people just do whatever they want, right? And then typically, like, I'm of the belief that if you don't do anything about it, you can't expect someone else to do something about it, right? So you have to do something about it. You have to make a change, right? So unrelated to let's say unrelated to like racism or whatever. Like if I'm like out in public and someone is acting a certain way that they shouldn't be acting and no one's doing anything about it, I would say something, right? But then as we get older, my wife's like, dude, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything. Like you never know, they're gonna stab you or whatever. And I kind of see your point, but I also feel like then you're just like everyone else and you're just gonna let society crumble away, right? But I also see the point like, okay, I'm not acting with just for me anymore. Like I'm acting for my wife, and if we have kids, like I have to like make sure that I'm safe for the kids. Like, what's the point of getting into like altercation when you don't have to? So that's kind of the thing that we kind of struggle with. But so like if someone did this to you, like what would you do, right? I know what I would do if I was younger, but like now that I'm older, I don't really know. I actually have no idea. So like I think number one is don't get mad because don't let them affect how you feel inside. And then number two, you have to address it, but don't address it physically, I guess. I think that would be my suggestion. But yeah.
He's so normalized in society, and for us Asian men, we have to figure out.
Also, this guy looks like he's European, so I don't know how Europeans act, if they act differently. But like, if this is America, I kind of know social norms, and like that would be that guy would get slapped probably.
Normalized in society, and for us Asian men, we have to figure out how to fight back. Because if the status quo is hate and racism against us, then positive change will never happen.
Yeah, right. You do some shit, and then you ask someone to do shit about it, and you just walk away
by
like
itself.
Let's
talk about a very interesting case study. Around May 2024, there was a lot of controversy around a game called Assassin's Creed Shadows, which initially doesn't seem like a big deal, but the entire discourse that happened around it perfectly illustrates how little people care about Asian men. Basically, in all previous Assassin's Creed games, you played as a protagonist from the region the game is set in. You were an Italian in Italy, a Syrian in Syria, a Native American during colonial America, a Welshman during the golden age of piracy, a Frenchman in France, a Greek in Greece, English twins in England, an Egyptian in Egypt, a Viking in Norway, and now in Shadows, a black samurai in Japan. Wait, what?
Why do they pick Yasuke? Because he's black.
Kind of questionable playing as a black guy in Japan slaughtering Asians. But wait, it gets even better when people started asking, hey, why can't we play as a Japanese male main character in a game set in feudal Japan? I mean, every game before this one, you could play as a regional male hero. Is this another case of erasing Asian men from Western media? Which are fair questions to be asking, but asking those questions caused people to be accused of being racist towards black people and banned from social media platforms. That's right,
pretty
if you
whack.
want an Asian male hero in a game set in Japan, you are a racist. Even though Asian men are extremely underrepresented in...
Also kind of unrelated, but like, I find it weird in the last like 5 years, they're just making everyone black or another race, even Asian, right? They're just making everyone like a certain race that they weren't originally. It's like, yo, like if this character was originally white, just make him white. Like if you want more black people, like make a different character that's actually black, and don't just replace a white person with a black person. It doesn't make sense.
Western media. Look, if you still don't get it, it has nothing to do with being anti-black and everything to do with advocating for Asian men who are also minorities. The fact this entire situation has been framed as an argument between racists who don't like black people versus people who support diversity shows how little people care about Asian men. We don't even exist. And this entire joke of a situation gets even funnier. Not a single Asian man was on the writing team that worked on Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Wait. Why is this picture of all women?
And the Japanese culture consultant they hired was an Asian woman married to a white guy who wrote books about Buddhist monks having romantic relationships with teenage boys. What in the actual You can't even make this up. Bloody hell, what did Asian men do to you people? Did everyone get rejected by Asian guys in high school or something? Oh, by the way, people also tried to gaslight Asian men by saying, but you can play as an Asian female. That's your representation. Which is like saying black women have good representation because there are many fantastic black male actors, and this logical fallacy is always used to justify the lack of positive Asian male representation in Western media. Which is why, like I said, I can understand why people don't think this Assassin's Creed thing is a big deal when they view it in isolation. But when you consider the context of over 100 years of Asian men being erased, dehumanized, and humiliated, then it becomes a big deal. And let's be honest, we are also responsible for the situation we're in. Historically, we haven't been very vocal about the challenges we face. We are raised to show respect to people who don't always deserve it. We are told to be the bigger person, to turn the other cheek. And because we tend to suffer in silence, we don't receive the same support as other marginalized groups, which makes it even harder for...
I mean, I don't know. I don't really feel like I was taught to turn the other cheek, so I do feel like from a personal level, like you just can't let it slide personally, and if everyone doesn't let it slide personally, then as a group we would not let it slide. So just I personally don't let things slide, so just do your part and don't let things slide when things happen to you.
Asian men to speak up, and that's why the actions of the following Asian men have arguably resulted in the greatest normalization of anti-Asian hate. That's right, we are talking about self-hating Asian men, also known as Uncle Chans. They are people who, for a variety of reasons, have been raised to hate being Asian and believe that Asian men are inferior. They enable other people to be racist towards Asians.
Tell me, oh girl, you know Bobby A.
They perpetuate racist Asian stereotypes and mock their heritage to entertain Western audiences.
I know, but they use tomato for curry.
They downplay...
That's kind of interesting, yeah. I never really understood his accent either.
Racism. Why you eat that bat? Why you eat that bat? Except where it happens to
I didn't really find it funny either, because it's kind of lowbrow. But yeah, I remember he was attacked in London and then no one helped him.
Nobody stepped in.
Yeah, why?
And worst of all, they are used to justify racism against Asians. Because hey, if people like Uncle Roger can make fun of Asians, then I can too, right? It would be like me saying I can say the N-word because Chris Rock said it a million times in a popular skit, even though he himself stopped doing it to avoid it being normalized.
Every time black people want to have a good
The thing with that Asian accent is just like, dude, it's so like, it's been done for years and years. It's like...
Imagine being a young Asian boy growing up in Western society, constantly being mocked for being Asian, being told your struggles don't matter, having very few positive Asian role models, and every popular Asian guy you see is either making fun of themselves or their race or their heritage. It's easy to understand why so many...
It's not very creative, right? It's very lowbrow. It's not very creative, so...
Asian teens believe they have to humiliate themselves to gain acceptance, and in the process, becoming their own worst enemy and continuing the cycle of hate against Asian men. Now that we have exposed several key factors contributing to the normalization of hate against Asian men, it's time for us to start...
Dude, back to Bobby Lee, it's like, okay, I can understand... So the thing I don't like Bobby Lee is like, he's just like, not very respectable, like the way he lets people treat him. And then I can understand like, okay, he's coming out and doing like he was really early on I think it was on Mad TV or something. And you know, he's like the first Asian guy to do it, right? So I can understand like he was kind of put in that position where he had to choose, kind of like that Two Broke Girls guy. But then like, dude, like he has his own platform now, and he's just like you can do whatever you want. Like, why do you still act like that? So I don't know.
Fighting back. Now, there are strategies that benefit us directly at a personal level, and there are strategies that benefit all Asian men at societal level. We should be doing everything we can because we don't just want to make life better for ourselves. We all know nothing angers racist incels and anti-loos more than seeing Asian men do well in life. That's why we all must aspire to become the best versions of ourselves. Take some time and reflect on whether you are happy with the person you are right now. And if the answer is no, then figure out why and come up with a plan of action to get you to a better place. Whether that's getting in better physical shape, learning a new skill, or building up your confidence, there is no shortage of quality self-help information on the internet. What's important is we proactively identify which areas of our lives we should be working on, and then dedicate focus, time, and energy towards taking positive actions. Now, in my opinion, we should all learn self-defense and get in excellent physical shape. When I was a skinny fat boy...
Yeah, get in shape. I think, like, honestly, what you need is you need forearms and legs. Like, getting big legs and forearms, I think, is probably your best bet for looking buffer.
Who did not know how to fight. Bullies pushed me around all the time, which all stopped once I got muscular and learned how to fight. Most bullies are cowards. They go after people they perceive as easy targets. That's why you...
Yeah, what the fuck? Sorry, I set it up and then... Did someone just hit this lady on the head?
They go after people they perceive as easy targets.
Yo, that's fucked up. Yeah, see, like, why is shit like this not getting blasted more? Like, bro, like, this is super fucked up. Like, and there's probably like hundreds of these things happening, but like, no one cares because the victim is Asian.
That's why you must be physically capable of defending yourself and your loved ones. You don't want to be another helpless victim.
Oh, I remember this guy. This guy, I think he's like, oh yeah, he's in the UK. I think he. Oh, I should read right. Yeah, he's a rugby player. This guy's like jacked. This happened when I was in college, I think. Yeah, he like punched someone. I think he got bullied and he hit someone. Then they sued him like a little bitch.
Asian hate crime. On a lighter note, getting in excellent physical shape will also do wonders for your confidence, and it's really hard for people to use negative stereotypes against you when you're jacked. That's why I'm top in my...
Actually, I'm gonna tell a story real quick. I haven't. This is not good. This is not a. I'm just telling a story just because I think it's relevant. One time when I was in SF, I was probably like 27, and like when I was 27, I was like relatively jacked. It was like Halloween, and I was wearing. I don't know if you guys heard of like Adventureland, this Finn outfit. So I was wearing like blue tights and like this shirt, and I had like a little backpack and like a little dog in my back, Jake in my backpack. And then we were in where were we? We were in, I forgot what it's called now. There's a part in SF where it's like kind of more white. I forgot what it's called. It's like I don't know. And there's a bunch of bars, basically. So basically, I was with like a group of people, like maybe like 20 or so friends, and then like we're like it's like super packed. It's like Halloween, so like we're like while I walking out, and like I'm like in this like packed shoulder to shoulder, and then I'm like in the back of the line. My girlfriend's right in front of me, and then like a bunch of people, and then for some reason this guy behind me like just starts like pushing me, and I'm like, bro, just chill, like don't push me. And then he's like trying to bully me. So he's like pushing me. I'm like, yo, like don't push me. And he's like, oh, you want to take this outside or whatever? And then basically he takes a full beer and he takes a full ass beer. It's like 16 ounces, just pours on my face. So I'm like all wet. And at that point, like I kind of blacked out. And then I just like I go in, I grab him, I just like lock him up. I like grab him, and then like I basically behind him. I'm like I have my legs around him. I'm choking him with one arm. But like basically trying to get very choking. I just choke him with one arm. And then his friend's like holding my arm, and all my friends already walked outside. So it's like all his friends and me. But then like at this point, I'm like so mad. So like I have it pretty deep in, but I can't close it, right? But then he takes his nails, he's like scratching my leg. Anyways, the bouncer comes, and he pulls me off of him, and then I'm like to the bouncer, I'm like, yo, sorry, like I had to do it. He poured full beer on me. And then as I'm getting up, the guy's on the ground. As I'm getting up, the bouncer's pulling me up. I like punch him in the face twice. So like I don't punch him that hard, but like his head's already on the ground. So I punch him in the face twice. I break his nose, and then the bouncer pulls me out. And then for some reason, there's a cop already outside. There's like this lady cop and this guy cop is already outside. And then the bouncer pulls me out. The bouncer pulls like that guy out too. And then I'm like kind of drunk at this point. And then the cop's like, what happened? And then like kind of tell him what happened or whatever. I didn't tell him I punched him, but his nose is like broken. He's like is all red. And then they like maybe sit down on the ground, and they let him stand over there. And then all my friends like just saw what happened, and then they make all my friends like go across the street, and all his friends are like still standing there. And then this entire time, this guy's like, "My dad's a lawyer. I'm going to sue. My dad's a lawyer. I'm going to sue." And then the entire time, the cops like asking what happened or whatever. And I thought it was kind of fucked up. They made me sit on the ground, and they let him stand there. But the guy ended up. I'm not exaggerating. He said, "My dad's a lawyer." Like 50 times, literally 50 times within the span of like 10 minutes. And then at this time, I didn't know pouring a beer on someone was assault. So I was just like, oh yeah, I tried to choke him. I don't know what happened to his face. And then the cops like, oh, that's assault if you try to choke somebody. And I was like, oh yeah, sorry, blah, 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 whatever. Just pull a full beer on me. What would you do? Etc. But I was just pretty calm. And then basically, I think the guy was so annoying saying his dad's a lawyer that they let me go. They basically like, oh yeah, this is like, if we have the rest of you, we have the rest of both of you, so then let's go. And I was like hella happy. And then and then the bouncer, I lost my phone. The bouncer found my phone as well. So I think the bouncer told him that the other guy started it. So yeah. So I guess basically, I think he was just trying to bully me because I'm an Asian dude wearing tights, and then it didn't work out that well for him. But I forgot why I told the story. There's no point to it. I just want to talk about it. But this is like the only fight I've ever been in. Yeah.
Thumbnails to combat the negative stereotypical images of Asians. Be the representation you want to see, and of course, support positive representations of Asian men in all areas of life. My point was like, yo, don't let just like if you're younger, just don't let things go unchecked. Just do shit. I mean, obviously I'm 36 now. I would never do that again. But also stop letting people get away.
Just don't let things go unchecked. Is my point.
But have you noticed all the challenges we face today are the very same challenges we faced decades ago? How many more decades must we endure before we start advocating for ourselves? And why should we endure while perpetrators of hate face zero consequences? And why are we in the wrong for standing up against people being racist towards us? And why should we allow people to treat us like stereotypes instead of actual human beings? Retaliation is justified, so don't be soft. When you see people being blatantly racist, call them out and give them consequences. When you see self-hating loose making negative generalizations about Asian men, rebut their nonsense.
Stop blaming Asian men for internalized racism is what you're doing. Yeah. Every single Asian man accountable for the dysfunction that you grew up with.
When self-hating Asians try to defend racism, tell them to have more respect for themselves. When people make racist comments about Asians, use their own logic against them. When people call you a victim for standing against racism, call them a coward for refusing to do so. When people try to gaslight you and pretend the challenges you face don't exist, do not allow them to silence you. And don't wait for other people to fight your battles for you. Be the one to lead the charge. People tell me all the time, you will never change the minds of racists by on them. The point is not to get racists to change their minds. The point is to dismantle their logical fallacies and give them a consequence for being a idiot. The point is to motivate other Asians to stand up for themselves. The point is to let bystanders know racism should never.
I also just want to say, like, I personally, I feel like you see a lot of racism on the internet and stuff, but in real life, it's actually not that bad. So, like, I think this is a good video, but like, also like, don't get over offended. Don't be like one of those age groups that get over offended by everything. Just live your life and be happy. But like, just if it comes, just check it. But like, don't like look for it, I guess.
Never be normalized. That's why we all must fight back to prevent apathy from becoming.
But yeah, I mean, you still do shit like this though. Like, you gotta like, yeah, make sure that
status quo. And if
I know it's kind of like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but it's like like I guess like how do I say this? Like I would say like speak up when you need to, but just make sure what you're speaking up for is
Americans
worth
can
speaking
win
up
equal
about.
rights, if women can win the right to vote, and if Sri Lankans can overthrow the entire government, then surely we Asian men can stop letting people push us around. Now, if you are a nation in the Western world, stop letting Western society dictate the type of person you should aspire to be. Because if you do, then you are going to end up as another self-hate.
I actually didn't know this. What's this guy's name? The emotional damage guy is actually half group. Yeah, his last name's O'Byron. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about him. Yeah.
Loser who makes fun of the Asian heritage. Even if you spend your entire life sucking up, some people will still never treat you as an equal.
I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
So don't mindlessly accept negative messages about yourself. Actively seek out positive Asian role models and never let anyone tell you are inferior for being Asian. The way to solve any societal problem is first to bring awareness to it. That's why we must be relentless and never allow anyone to silence us. Now, while doing so, it's important we don't get innocents and potential allies caught up in the crossfire. Direct your justified retaliation towards people who deserve it. Yes, fight back against anti-loose and their nonsense, but don't allow them to cause you to think negatively about all Asian women. We hate loose for their hateful actions and words against Asian men, just like we love all the empowering and fantastic Asian women in our lives. Likewise, point out facts like the high rates of black on Asian crime. But remember, not all black people are to blame.
Oh, by the way, I actually saw this. So this guy right here is a famous streamer. This dude is some Taiwanese guy that he met that is like straight up from Taiwan, and he's been hanging out with him. He's like famous now because of this guy right here. This is Kevin Hart, and I kind of watched a couple of clips, and Kevin Hart was being like super 1980s racist to him. He was like making all those like ching chong sounds or whatever, and I was like, yo, like, what the fuck's wrong with Kevin Hart? Yeah.
If we want to be judged as individuals free from negative racial biases, then we should also never judge others purely on the basis of their race. And if we desire to be treated as respectable human beings, then we must also show others respect until they give us a reason not to. And Asian Americans, for the love of all deities, you must put all your trivial hatred aside and see the bigger picture. By trivial hatreds, I mean things like Korean Americans hating on Chinese Americans, Asian Americans.
I don't know if that actually is a thing. Do Koreans hate Chinese people? I don't know.
Hating on homeland Asians, second generation Asian.
Do we hate on homeland? I don't think this happens.
Americans hating on first generation Asian Americans, or West Coast Asian Americans hating on East Coast Asian Americans.
I'm also not sure West Coast Asians hate East Coast Asians either.
When all Asian men are being targeted, why waste your time and energy hating on other Asians? Why? Just because they are not exactly like you. Can you imagine a black person saying like, oh, actually, racists don't hate all black people, just Nigerians? Of course not. It's ridiculous. So why do we do it? Go after people screaming Asians instead. And yes, talking about our challenges does make a difference. People ask.
Oh, I don't know if this is off topic, but this dude was on Bling Empire, and I also don't think he's a good representation of Asians based on his actions on Bling Empire.
Just does make a difference.
But he is good looking, I guess.
People are starting to notice how much anti-loose hate Asian men.
But do you understand how you were a contradiction? First you were saying, I'm Asian, I'm strong, I'm Korean, and then you're saying, screw Korean boys.
And that Asian men are constantly emasculated by Western media.
We wanted to take away the stereotype of the Asian male in theater of like being asexual and just not being sexy.
And that racist hate against Asian men is rampant.
People saying that like DNA is ruined, or like, why are you married to some Chinese guy, or it's actually mind-blowing, and it makes me so sad that like that is something that people genuinely feel and comment, and you think that's okay.
You must have also noticed how differently Asian men are treated in countries where we haven't been dehumanized for over a century. And so my question for you is this: do you think racism and hate towards Asian men would be as normalized as it is today if we hit back every time we got hit instead of turning the other cheek? You know the answer is no. That's why we must all do our part. Fight for a world that judges us by our actions and words, and not.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good message. Yeah, like I said, I think you gotta just check things when they happen to you, but don't go out and look for things to check, I guess. Because I think what's most important is like your inner peace. So yeah. But I don't know. If you're younger, I guess you can be more aggressive. I'm older, so I'm less aggressive now, which I think is how it should be. But at the same time, yeah, I feel like this kind of reminded me of like how I used to feel about things. And yeah, overall, I think it was a good video. And yeah, I hope you guys found it interesting. And sorry I watched it on faster speed. I just wanted to save time. All right. Hope this helps. Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.